Chapter 29, In the Shelter, 1942. The door to the public air raid shelter was already locked. Father put down his suitcase and maneuvered the iron bars. When the steel door still wouldn't budge, he hammered on it. Herr Resch opened the door. He wore a steel helmet and an armband identifying him as the air raid warden. "About time, too," he growled. Father said nothing in reply. We walked into the shelter, greeting everyone there with a "Kai, Hitler." No one answered. With eyes shut tight, women and old men sat spread over the room. Some had lain down on the benches. Everyone had his luggage beside him. Two mothers and their small children huddled in a dark corner. The children were whining to themselves. In another corner, two lovers sat closely pressed against each other. The man was a sergeant. We sat down close to the fresh air pump, where we always sat. The luggage rested between our feet. Father leaned against the dank, white wall and closed his eyes. "You'll never get rid of that cough this way," said Mother. Father sat straight up. "I can't sleep anyway," he said. "I believe you," nodded Mother. Herr Resch, as air raid warden, crossed the shelter. "Well, comrade, on leave?" he addressed the sergeant. Settled, the sergeant shot up and agreed. "We'll show them up there, eh?" Herr Resch was showing off. "Did you read that we shot down 35 enemy bombers yesterday?" The sergeant smiled. "And 35 others are taking their places today, and God knows how many more will come." Herr Resch cleared his throat. Without another word, he turned and went back to the door. The sergeant once more embraced his girl. Outside, the pounding grew louder, and the bark of our anti-aircraft guns sounded strangely hollow. The shots mingled with the sounds of the bombing exploded, singly first, then several at once. Whole groups of bombs fell together. The cellar resounded with their explosions. "The poor boy," sighed Mother. Father just said, Herr Resch withdrew to the shelter proper, closing the airlock and making the shelter airtight. Again, a bomb exploded. This time it hit so close the cellar walls shook under the impact. Suddenly, there came a pounding on the door. Who can not be so late?" muttered Herr Resch, searching the room. "Well, go up and open up," the sergeant called from his corner. Herr Resch unbarred the inner door. Now we could hear someone whimper outside. "Please, please let me in. Please, please." "Friedrich," Mother burst out. Her mouth fell open. Her eyes grew large. "Open up, open up," the voice shouted, full of horror. "Please open up." Herr Resch opened the steel door. Friedrich was kneeling outside, his hands folded in prayer. "I am afraid, afraid, afraid." On all fours, he crept into the airlock of the shelter. Through the open door, we could hear how hellish it was outside. The pressure of another hit through the steel door shut. "Out!" bellowed Herr Resch. "Scram! You don't really imagine we'd let you into our shelter, do you?" His breathing was labored. "Out! Get out!" The sergeant stood up and walked over to Herr Resch. "Have you gone out of your mind? You can't send the boy out of a shelter in this raid." "Do you know who that is?" Herr Resch sputtered. "That's a Jew." "So?" the sergeant asked with astonishment. "And even if it were but a dog, you'd let him stay until the raid is over." The other people in the shelter also took part now. "Let the boy stay," came from all sides. "Who do you think you are?" Herr Resch screamed. "How dare you mix in my affairs? Who is air raid warden here, you or I? You follow my orders. Is that understood? Otherwise, I'll report you." No longer sure of himself, the sergeant stood and looked at Friedrich. Everyone was silent. The guns still sounded. Very pale, Friedrich still leaned in the airlock. He had calmed down. "Go, boy. Go voluntarily," the sergeant said softly. "Otherwise, there'll be nothing but annoyance." Without a word, Friedrich left the shelter. Shots and bombs thundered without a break. We could even hear the whistling sound of the falling bombs and the rushing sound of the incendiary bombs. Mother cried against Father's shoulder. "Do pull yourself together," begged Father. "You'll endanger us all otherwise."